Yeah, it is. Okay, so I think it's kind of important to backtrack a tiny bit because everything overlapped right then.
Hmm.
So I already had this information and knowledge that people were telling me that Catherine didn't live in our county. And so I started looking into that on my own, like around the first part of the year after the holidays, because what happened is I was going to events all over town, all over the county, and people were saying, "Oh, you're running against her. I heard you're running against her. Did you know she doesn't even live in our county?" And so I started doing a little digging on my own because this is a small town and rumors spread like fire, and who knows if that's even true. So I started to dig into that like in February, March timeframe. And then at the end of March, no, in the middle of March, I met a professional private investigator. And we started to communicate via email about what this would look like if I hired him to do a professional investigation. Because what I had found so far was leading me to believe that the rumors might be true. So then on April 2nd, I actually retained the private investigator and then he started his process. So it was 30 days after that that my petitions were challenged. So it's a really important overlap because she likes to present it as I started this investigation purposefully because she got me kicked off the ballot and that the investigation was retaliatory. The investigation was started prior to any challenge ever happening. So that investigation continued for April and May. And then as the end of May was coming, um, he wrapped up his initial report. And that report had to do with mostly the paper trail, the background checks, the aliases that he was looking into, different things like that. And so then it concluded with a recommendation of what steps should be taken next. So his report, his certified report, stated that it wasn't likely that Catherine lives in Lenawee County, but the ways that that could be verified are as follows, and he kind of gave a full checklist. So it was at that time that I decided to reach out to you guys to have what I've referred to in all my briefs now as a ground surveillance team to follow up on the recommendations that were given by the first investigative report. And so then you guys stepped in right after Memorial Day weekend at the end of May and began the process there. While you were doing your stuff, I was also still doing things in the process to prepare for the anticipated lawsuit because I also I wanted to go to the county to see if they wanted to take this on themselves. So I took the initial report from Investigator Butler to the county. And then I also had to reach out to the attorney general to ask them if they wanted to be the ones to file the lawsuit because that was a statutory requirement. And I had to wait for a response from them. So I went to the county and the attorney general about the second week of July. And then you guys were wrapping up at the end of July and a few days into August after getting your report. I then got the kind of thumbs up from the attorney general and 2 weeks later filed the lawsuit.
So day one, we began our skip. And what that details is we start diving into the information provided to us and seeing what results we come back with. And we're talking from utility bills or any public records that you may have out there. We start looking for leads. And what we found was the judge's address showing current at the Devil's Lake address in Addison. However, next to it was another address, and it was a Grass Lake address. And the dates on it show going back to 2017. And then it looked like there might have been a change of address put in 2018. And when you look at the record, the time length, it kind of looks like it was done intentionally to run for probate judge. Now, that's just what it looks like. I mean, it may not be what it is. Remember, we always got to keep an open mind and non-biasness when we're doing these types of things. But a lot of information was coming back that definitely rose some flags to us. In fact, that we had to pull up some quick claims, deeds on the property.
With Tony one day, and he handed me a bunch of papers and asked me to review them. Turned out that they were a bunch of deeds, and in my background many years ago, I used to work for a title company and run deeds to make sure everything was clean and clear. And I just started coming up with a ton of different questions that started arising more ideas of, not ideas, sorry, aspects of other stuff going on besides just what we started with. And he said that he also had a bunch of other professionals in that same line come up with the same questions, if not more in depth on other things as well.
And we started investigating that as well. Not questioning whether the judge owns the home. I mean, you can own any house, but do you live there 100% of the time? Now, that's the question that we are trying to get an answer to. So, we go out our first time. What we called a recon mission. We wanted to go out, check out the area, go find the house of the judge, and just take a look to know what we're looking at, get an idea of the area and the surroundings. We first pulled up to the judge's home on Devil's Lake.
It wasn't, no one was living there. There wasn't any flowers. It was very stark. The appearance was very stark.
It didn't look like somebody lived there. It looked like it was like a summer cottage, like you would have on a lake. The difference, though, is it was minimum maintenance, and honestly, when you have a house around a lake, even if it's just a summer cottage, you usually have some flowers out there. You have it done up. It looks nice and it's comfortable. This, though, is quite the opposite. That again now raises more flags, and we realize at that point we definitely need to keep ground surveillance on the judge's home. So what ended up happening is we ended up meeting up with Tamaris at the end of our recon mission at a really cool place in Ann Arbor for some drinks, and we talked. And that was when we discovered that this whole case is without malice. There's nothing negative towards the probate judge, the current judge, Catherine Sala. It is the fact of what she did to cause where we're at now. And out of transparency, I felt that we needed to do this.
So the first night that we arrived for the recon, when I was starting to become involved in the groundwork, we stayed at Cowboy Town. Cute place, by the way. Love the whole vibe, the whole theme. Everything's fantastic. Just a really cool place. Rustic. We showed up there to do the trail cam first, and just because we wanted to see what was going on when we weren't fully able to be around to see the house, what was going on when no one was looking.
Here's what we needed to do. We needed to, A, get a trail cam installed. B, set up weekly long surveillance. And C, if all else fails on finding the judge at her home for any reason, we would then look at the alternate address that we had come up that showed back as far back as 2017. So we needed to take some time. We ended up going down multiple times and driving around a lot of time. keeping an eye on the judge's home. Luckily, she's right next to the highway, so us driving through, we could visually see it, which also worked out really good from when we did the trail cams. We ended up staying out there for a week-long surveillance, plus to retrieve the trail cam that we had left out there for almost a month or so.
So the trail cam. The trail cam was a fun one. That night, trying to get a good view. Not always possible.
We went out to Adrian and ran over to Addison and got the trail cam. Let me tell you, installing that sucker was a lot of fun. It was late at night, and here I am walking down the road, the highway there, and jumping over the guardrail right onto the state easement area, and found a tree area to put the trail cam on. Problem with doing such a thing is you do have some things that will block you and your vision. And we found that to be the case. We did not expect the winds to be all the time like they were, plus thunderstorms and other things and weather related that came through the area.
The weather, the tree branches, something moves, something gets in the way. What we did find from those camera pictures was just a lot of...
was causing the young tree that we had attached to kind of go all over the place. So we got some visuals of the judge's home. However, it wasn't really helpful for what we needed. And because of those results, it forced us to basically step up and really cover the surveillance. And we're talking all times of the day. We're talking in the middle of the night. We're talking in the mornings, weekends, afternoons, evenings, all the times that anybody normally that lives at a place that's 100% homestead is going to be there.
Does anyone really live there? If you're gonna... If that's your residence, that would be somewhere that the neighbors would see you all the time. And from what we saw when we were there, the neighbors weren't seeing you because you weren't there. You had to be somewhere else. You're living somewhere else. There's no way that anyone is actually living in that house daily.
But it was a lot of driving. A lot of driving. From where we were staying in the hotel to Devil's Lake and to all the surrounding area. During the time that the judge was at work, of course, we are out in the county, in the area, going around, familiarizing ourselves with it, looking at the different roads, taking the different roads.
And what we ended up finding was, well, nothing. Which for us was a good thing. Nothing meaning no activity. Does anyone really live there? Like, okay, we get it. You're supposed to have this house as your legal residence and be there 90% of the time or whatever the equation is supposed to be. What we found was nothing. No one was there, no lights, no nothing. If my biggest problem with it was, okay, you're a dog owner, and I'm a dog owner, so I know what it's like to do that and to have that, and we have the same breed. So understand, I know your activity very well when it comes to that animal. You have to have that animal with you constantly. You have to be there all the time, no matter what. Like, that's an animal that gets a little sassy when they're upset with you. But what we did find was, not even to let out a dog, to open a window, to nothing. There was nothing there.
A lot on the road. And I can't emphasize that enough. So many miles, so much time during our window of this investigation that it was at the point of, we aren't seeing her. She is not at this home. And we would go to her work, and there's her car in the parking lot of the court in her VIP spot there. And that was the only time we were seeing the car.
Man. But that's okay. trial and error. Everything is, you keep going, you keep looking, you keep investigating because, well, why would this be possible? Why is it an issue? Well, maybe we need to delve deeper into that. Maybe she was just gone or not.
We said enough. And we decided to adventure up to the other address that we had found in Grass Lake.
To the other house, which we'll talk about that one later.
You got caught. He's in trouble now.
It was one of those, okay, there you are.
I can